I saw a video where a YouTuber named Great Blue ranked randomly generated TF2 weapons. I don't know anything about TF2, so I thought it might be fun to do something like this with a different game. I finished making a Rain World random Slugcat generator, so now I'm making this video. Getting a Lillipuck each cycle is pretty good because it is basically just a free spear and one food pip combined. Turning cherry bombs into lanterns is less useful, but if you are about to enter Shaded Citadel, I can see this being useful. Being able to stun creatures is really useful and can save you many times if used right. Shelter failure is usually not that bad. The only difficulty I see with this Slugcat is the 7 food pips needed for hibernation. This Slugcat isn't that great, so I'll put it in high average. Being able to glide is good for avoiding other creatures or getting past obstacles. Latching onto creatures is good for making sure prey will not escape. The world being dark is a big downside unless you memorize the map. The large amount of food pips needed for hibernation and losing a food pip every few minutes is a serious downside. Unless you avoid all water areas, the world being dark means it will be very easy to die to a snail if you don't pay attention to your surroundings. I think this Slugcat belongs in the weak section. The ability to shock nearby creatures is good because it can stun or kill some creatures. The ability to turn batnips into lanterns is helpful when entering dark areas. Miro's birds not attacking the player is really helpful in Shaded Citadel and Subterranean. Being able to use passages twice is really powerful because that means the run is significantly quicker because you can teleport twice as often. Having the ability to do a bomb jump is really good for escaping predators. Being constantly pursued by 2 of the game's strongest creatures obviously makes the run much more difficult. The amount of food needed for hibernation being so high is also bad. This Slugcat will go into the low average box. Rubbish sometimes being replaced by karma flowers is very good because then it will be easier to travel and you won't need to stay in the same area only to die many times and lose karma. Duplicating items once per cycle is obviously a great ability, and I don't think I need to explain why. Turning mushroom into batnip is good if you need food because you can use it to attract the bats. Snails exploding instead of stunning is dangerous when you need to travel past a water area. Dying to randomized damage instead of having a chance to recover is pretty terrible. Even though the Slugcat slowly loses food, they only need 5 food pips and their ability to turn mushrooms into batnips, and duplicating items partially get rid of this downside. This Slugcat isn't the best, but I think it just barely gets into the strong category. Having a grappling tongue means better movement, and movement is very important in Rain World. Shocking nearby creatures is good for extra damage and stunning powerful creatures. Infinite spears means an infinite source of damage, so that is very powerful. Moving as fast as Rivulet means it is even easier to travel and escape threats. Becoming randomly stunned can mean death in certain scenarios, so that is very dangerous. Lizards randomly having the ability to leap would be bad, but the Slugcat has great mobility, so it matters significantly less. Some water being replaced with acid would be bad, but the Slugcat can just travel in different locations. Needing 6 food pips to hibernate is okay because of how powerful the Slugcat is. Because it has the world state of monk, the world is very safe. I will put this Slugcat in the overpowered section because any mildy experienced player should be able to survive most situations with this Slugcat. The Slugcat can make a cloud of ink to hide from predators. It can slow predators down with its attacks. These abilities help it get away. It has a decent amount of food pips it needs to hibernate. What makes this Slugcat terrible is the fact that it loses the game if it doesn't win within a certain amount of cycles. The world is dark, which only makes it harder to see predators. And worst of all, the world state is Spearmasters. That means the creatures that spawn will be very dangerous. Decent upsides can't really combat the horrible downsides. I cannot put this Slugcat anywhere else but the terrible section. Being able to teleport twice is clearly good, so is being able to shock enemies. Being able to hurt creatures by slamming into them like Gourmand is good if you use movement to your advantage. You can destroy spears to gain a food pip when you turn it into bubble fruit, which is useful when you are low on food and nearby water. Having limited cycles to win makes things more difficult. The world being dark amplifies those effects because you will need to spend more cycles figuring out where to go. This Slugcat is decent, so I will put it in high average. The ability to create a joke rifle and just shoot everything is powerful, and you usually can't access it outside of sandbox mode. Bomb jumping is a good ability too. Having your karma not be fully raised isn't that bad. Lizards randomly being able to leap is pretty dangerous for this character. Because the Slugcat's breath time is so short, it blocks of access to many underwater areas. Spearmaster's world state makes things significantly harder. It also needs a high amount of food. This Slugcat isn't insanely difficult, so I'll put it in the weak square. The combination of hurting creatures when you slam into them and bomb jumping is really powerful. Getting a joke rifle each cycle and having infinite spears also help with damage. Aggressive squidcata are only deadly when in parkour sections or near other creatures. Explosive snails are also dangerous. The world is Artificer's world state, which means more dangerous creatures. I feel like this Slugcat should be put in the strong section. Rivulet speed combined with doing damage by slamming into things is very strong. Shocking creatures is also powerful. It raining sooner might cause the player to rush and not notice the drop wigs, which is bad. As long as the player is careful, falling shouldn't be an issue. Because the world state is monk, the creatures are less dangerous. This Slugcat would probably go in high average.